Hello everyone and welcome back to our building tutorial series. So far in this series we've made a menu to help us select which building block we want to use and have an inventory screen to show how much inventory we have for the crafting materials. And in the last episode we made it so we can see how many crafting materials each block needs. Now in this episode we're going to go through the process of locking out options based on the ingredients. So if I can't do steel block, I want to make it so I can't click on this. And also I want to make it so that when I click on build these blocks, it actually takes away from my inventory here. So let's get started with this. Now first I'm going to do is I'm going to change my default settings here for testing purposes for wood and metal down, way down. So I can test my building here is going to turn off wood for the steel block here. So let's go into our player characters blueprint. And click on that inventory component. And on the right hand side I can see my default settings for wood and metal. I'm going to make wood equal to 8. Meaning that it would be okay to build the main block, the standard block, but not enough to build the steel one. So that'll do there. Next we're going to go and into our UI folder. And we want the build menu button, buttons. Okay, so we need to make a state for this thing so it appears different when we are hovering over it. So here's the graph, and we've got on mouse enter as such like this, and we need to make a variable, a boolean, which will check whether or not we can actually interact with this button. So make a new variable on the left hand side here, and we'll call this one is active. And we'll use that as a branch on our on mouse enter and on mouse leave. So if it's active only, it will go to true. And again here to a branch, looking up to true as well. So hit compile and that'll do there. Next we got to where it says pre-construct, and on here we're going to make it check whether or not it is going to be active or not. So we need to take our recipe that we've got from the block recipe here and compare that with the inventory component of the player character. So let's get the player character first of all. Get player character. And then cast that to your particular character's actor. So this will get us a player character, and then from the blue pin here we can drag out and get the inventory component which has our crafting materials on it. And what we're going to be doing is using the inventory map for this. So get inventory map, and comparing this with our block recipe. So we're going to drag block recipe out as well, and we are going to do a search through this inventory map for the matching keys inside our block recipe. So from block recipe we're going to go and get the keys, and that'll give us an array of all the ingredients that this thing will need. So with that list we're going to do a for each loop because we're going to be checking each one. And for each one, we're going to compare it against this inventory map. So on array element, we're going to drag out and we're going to find there. And we're going to be searching in the inventory map there. And this will return the number associated to our inventory map. So if it does find it, great. That means it's in there, but the number we need to check as well. So we're going to get the block recipe out again. And we'll do find and drag array element into it. So now we've got, this will be the top one here for block recipe is going to be the number that we need, and this is the number we have. So if the need is less than how much we have or equal to what we have, then it can remain active. So drag from there, less than or equal to this one here, and put that into a branch. And if that is true, we're going to make isActive, set isActive to true. Otherwise, set to false. Okay. So that does what we wanted to do, but we'll also need to do this again later on, and this will go through each item. Now, what is going to happen here is that the problem we have is if we have multiple items in our block recipe. So what we need to do is turn this to a function so we can rely on a local variable to track if all of them are going to be active. So we're going to select everything we have here that we just did, and we'll click on that one there as well, and right click on all that selection and collapse to function. And this one we're going to do is query inventory. And we're going to open this one up. So on query inventory, we've got one parameter. It's labeled mine here self2. So I'm going to change that to be equal to the character I'm going to check it against, and that'll be, in this case, the player character. And we're going through each one here, la 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 la. But rather than doing the isActive at the end here, we're going to take those off. And instead, we're going to make a local variable. So find local variable, click new local variable. I'm going to call this one have ingredients, we'll call it. And the default value for this is going to be true. Hit compile, and then drag that local variable out and choose set. So because it's true by default, we only want to change it if this is false. So drag this to false, and that local variable will remain like so. So for example, if the ingredients for the block recipe has 2 items, the first item we have plenty of, so that's fine. This will return true, and therefore it will keep have ingredients as true. We are then going to go around to the second one, but the second one this time does not have enough ingredients. Therefore, this will return false, therefore turning off our have ingredients. That means at the end, when we can go from the completed here, is we're going to set the isActive to be equal to the have ingredients. And hit compile. That means we can now come out of there. And also not come out of there. Actually, no, we can leave it like that. So that will query inventory and just return whether or not true or false, and store it in this variable isActive. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is change the appearance of this thing based on whether or not it is active or not. So after we query the inventory, we're going to drag isActive out and choose get. And then from there, we're going to do a branch. And if it is a branch is set to isActive is true, we'll leave it as is. But if it's false, I'm going to change the design of this a little bit. So what I want to do is I'm going to change the recipe text here and change the color of this to be red. So let's drag recipe text out, and we'll set color and opacity, and we'll make that make and choose red. So it's only in the false. Okay. And that'll do for now. Let's compile that. And let's do the opposite now for the true. And choose make again. But this time choosing the color we want when we do have it. In this case, we make it white. Okay. Okay, let's hit compile and save. So let's now go into our game here. So now if I push the tab key, you'll see the text here now is red. And you can see the hover effect doesn't work on it. However, I can still click on it and do what I want to do. So we just need to make it so I can't click on it. So go back into your build buttons UI and go to the graph and go to your functions for your on mouse button down. And in here, we're going to only do this if we click the left mouse button and connect that up there. And the and here is active. File and save. If it's false, we're going to take return node there and place it at false here. And return value here, we're going to use handled again, so it consumes the input. Okay. So hit play. And now I can't click on this block, but I can on this one. And you may want to do other things. You may want to say, like, make the whole thing red. You can do whatever you like to make it look how you want to make it look. But for now, I'm going to leave it as this. So as you can see, I can click on standard block but not still block and place my items wherever I want. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so that when I place these blocks, I actually lose items in my inventory. So when I do the build block code on the blueprints here, we got input action click, get the build piece and placed and reset. Okay, once it is placed, so after the reset build here, we're going to take the inventory component out from our player here, and we're going to change the inventory map. So for that, we're going to get hold of the item details required by the block. So to do that, we need to get hold of the block we just placed here. So let's go to our block code. This one. Okay. So on the block here, we are going to pass in a variable here for block row name and call it name. We're also going to add another variable for block recipe, and this will be of the type item. Oh, what was it? What did we use it for? Let's have a look. I forget. So sorry, name and integer. We want it to. Here and integer. Here, compile. Okay, so once we've done that, we're then going to go to begin play, and we're going to find the data table row that we want for this. So we're going to drag out get data table row, and your row name is going to come from the block row name here, and the data table is going to be our block data table. And on out row, we're going to split that, and we're going to take the ingredients and set that to the block recipe. So all we have to do then is change the block row name per block we put in there. So for example, our test block, we go to the class default here, block row name, and here you type in the name of the block inside that data table. So to recap, that is in here, and we want standard underscore block. So I'm going to go in here, okay. So at the very start, it'll build the block recipe for that block. Okay, so now when we go back to the first person character, and when we are clicking to build this thing, we're placing it, we want to get the build pieces class and its, in particular, its recipe. So before we do all the resetting here, we need to do this new code. So from the build piece, drag this out and do get block recipe. From there, we're going to go to the inventory component, and we're going to create a new function to take away the ingredients from the block recipe. So go into inventory component by double clicking on it, or sorry, go to edit, and in here we're going to make a new function. We'll call it remove ingredients. And this thing will take an input, and it will take the recipe, and the recipe is going to be the name as a map followed by an integer. So similar to everything else we've been doing. So what we're going to do in here is we're going to get the keys for this, and then do a for each loop for this. And for each item in that array, so each ingredient, we're going to take that away from that inventory map. So drag your inventory map out, get, and we're going to find the amount we need to take out. So do find, and in the map section, and plug in your recipe. So just type it in here, get recipe. And that will give us the number of the items we need. We're then going to take the inventory map and choose find for this one. And on the inventory map here, we are going to drag the array element out again. And we've now got to take the inventory map away. So I'll put that on top here so it makes it a bit clearer. So I'm going to take this one, do minus integer, minus the bottom one. Now with this new value, we're going to take that into our inventory map here, and we'll do set, add, and that goes into loop body. And the key we're going to add here is going to come from the array element, but the number here is going to come from our new value here. Hit compile. And there you go. Event graph. And from the inventory component, drag out and do remove ingredients. Plug that in, and then plug in your block recipe. And so every time we click, it will remove those ingredients from that list. When we do that though, we need to make sure we're updating our UI on our menu. Okay, so to do this, we can go into a heads-up display, find where we toggle the visibility for our build menu, find where it says visible, and we're going to create a custom event on our build menu to be called here. So go to your build menu, create a new custom event, and call this one refresh content. Go back to your compile that, and then go back to your heads-up display. Then from your build menu pin here, drag out, and we'll do refresh content. And that will only be needed for the visible branch. Then go to your build menu after hitting compile, go to your build menu. And for each item you want to refresh, we're going to call a refresh task. So let's go to our inventory menu control, for example, here. We'll make a custom event called refresh. And we're going to clear the content scroll box out of its children. So clear children. And then we'll go down to the cast. And hit compile. Okay, so if I push play, click on standard block and build one, you can see my inventory now has gone to ×3. Now I keep on going, but it won't do what I want it to do because I want it to update everything. Okay, so for that I need to also update the build menu content. So let's go back to our build menu, and we need to put in a refresh for our build menu content. So go to build menu content, go to the right start of here, and very much the same, create a custom event called refresh, and we're going to clear all the children from the block list. And then plug in the rest, like so. We then go back to our build menu, drag out your build menu content, and call refresh. So now, go back to the game, push play, and I hit this, build, hit this again, you can see now it's red as well, because my inventory is now less than the amount that I need. Okay, so I can't click on either of these. And that'll do it for this episode. In the next episode, we'll make it so that rather than a green block appearing, it turns red, indicating that we can't see it. And we're also going to add some other UI elements in here to make it easier for the player to find and see how much crafting material they have left when building their environments. If you want to watch the next episode right now, head over to patreon.com/RyanDaily. Where a donation just $1, get access to that video plus many, many more. Big thank you to all of my patrons for their continued support. None of this would be possible without you, so thank you again so much. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave a comment below if you have any questions or suggestions for future content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.